Arrival and Fear. The night sky was quiet. Stars shone like silver dust scattered across the darkness. But then, something broke that silence. A small, burning light crossed the sky, moving fast, leaving behind a trail of smoke. It was not a shooting star. It was a ship. The ship was tiny, no bigger than a car, and inside sat a creature who was even smaller. Her name was Ziri. She came from a faraway world, a world of gentle winds and soft colors. But now, her ship was damaged. Sparks flew, alarms screamed, and she struggled to control the fall. The ship crashed in a lonely forest. Trees bent, leaves caught fire, and the earth shook. For a long moment, there was only silence. Then, the small door of the ship opened with a hiss, and Ziri stepped out. She was no taller than a hand. Her skin glowed faintly blue, her eyes wide like crystals. She looked around in fear. The air smelled strange, the ground was heavy and rough. Everything here felt too big, too loud, too dangerous. Ziri whispered to herself, trembling, "Please don't find me. Please don't devour me." She had heard the stories. Her people spoke of giant beings who lived on this world. Creatures with sharp teeth, creatures who ate flesh, creatures who would crush anything small. They called them humans. Suddenly a sound. Crunch. Ziri froze. The sound of footsteps, heavy, slow, crushing the leaves. Each step shook the ground under her tiny feet. Her heart raced. She darted behind a rock, hiding in the shadows. The footsteps grew closer. A giant figure moved between the trees. Ziri could only see parts of it. Huge legs covered in fabric, a hand bigger than her entire body, carrying something long and shiny. The air trembled with the sound of its breathing. Ziri held her breath. She dared not move. The giant stopped near the broken ship. Its head turned slowly. Eyes like suns glowed in the darkness. Ziri thought she had been seen. Fear clawed inside her. She pressed herself deeper against the rock, praying the shadows would hide her. The human bent down, touching the broken ship with its enormous hand. It made a sound. Deep, rumbling like thunder. To Ziri, it was the voice of a monster. She whispered again, her voice shaking, "Please don't devour me." The human stood, scanning the forest, searching. Ziri's body shook with terror. If it found her, she was sure she would be eaten alive. Another sound came, the distant howl of an animal. The human turned its head and slowly walked away. The footsteps faded. Ziri waited. She did not move until the night grew quiet again. Only then did she crawl out from her hiding place, gasping for air. Her tiny chest rose and fell fast. She looked at her broken ship. Smoke rose from it, glowing red in the night. She knew she could not fix it alone. She was trapped on this world, and the giants were here. Ziri walked carefully through the tall grass, each blade like a tree to her. The forest around her was alive with strange noises, squeaks, howls, the flapping of wings. Every sound made her jump. She felt so small, so weak, but the image of the human stayed in her mind. Those glowing eyes, that huge hand, that thunder voice. She could almost still feel the ground shake from its steps. "They are real," she whispered. The stories were true. Her people had always said humans were monsters. Now she believed it. She had seen one with her own eyes, and it was terrifying. She crawled into the hollow of a fallen tree, curling into herself. Her body glowed faintly, casting small blue light on the wood. She hugged her knees, shivering. The forest outside was alive, but in her small hiding place it was silent. Silent, except for her quick breathing. Her thoughts raced. If they catch me, I will be gone. I am only a meal to them. I must hide. I must stay alive. But deep inside, a question burned in her heart. Why did the human not eat me when it had the chance? Why did it only touch the ship and then leave? She closed her eyes, but sleep would not come. Only fear sat beside her. Night was long, and the humans were near. The first encounter morning light touched the forest. Golden beams cut through the trees, chasing away the night. Birds sang, insects buzzed, and the world felt alive again. But for Ziri, the tiny alien, fear still sat heavy in her chest. She had not slept. Her glowing eyes peeked out from the hollow tree where she had hidden all night. The memory of the giant still haunted her. The enormous hand, the thunder voice, the eyes that searched the dark. She whispered to herself, "Stay hidden, stay alive." But hunger gnawed at her small body. Her people survived on simple things: berries, soft roots, and drops of water. This forest was full of food, but everything here looked strange, bigger than she had ever seen. She crawled out of the tree and began to search. She found a red berry hanging from a branch. It was the size of her head. She touched it carefully. It smelled sweet. She bit into it, and juice spilled down her chin. For the first time since the crash, she felt a little relief. But the peace did not last. Crunch. Her heart jumped. That sound again. Footsteps. She froze, her tiny fingers still sticky with berry juice. The ground shook softly with each step. She darted into the grass, hiding among the tall green blades. Through the gaps she saw it. A human. But this one looked different from the shadow of last night. It was smaller, lighter, moving with less weight. The giant carried a basket in, one hand picking berries with the other. A young one. Ziri's eyes widened. She had never imagined there could be different sizes of these creatures. Still, even this smaller human was a towering giant to her. The human bent down, humming softly, plucking berries from branches. Ziri held her breath. The creature's hand came close, so close she could see the tiny lines on its skin, each one bigger than her arm. The hand stopped. The fingers opened. And Ziri realized with terror, it was reaching for the very branch where she had bitten the berry. She panicked. She scrambled backward, but her foot slipped. The grass shook. A small cry escaped her lips. The human's head turned. Two enormous eyes stared straight into the grass. Ziri froze, her body stiff like stone. Her glowing blue skin gave her away. There was no hiding now. The human gasped softly. The basket fell to the ground with a dull thud. Slowly, carefully, the giant lowered itself to the earth. Ziri trembled. "This is it," she thought. "I will be eaten. Please don't devour me." The human stretched out a hand so big it could crush her in a second. But it did not move fast. It moved slowly, gently, like a leaf floating down. Ziri stepped back, shaking her head. "No, no," she whispered. Though the human could not understand her words, the human stopped the hand in midair and spoke. The voice was high, softer than the thunder voice of last night. Still, to Ziri, it rumbled like a storm. The sound carried no anger, no hunger, only surprise. Ziri's heart pounded. Her mind screamed at her to run, but her legs would not move. She stood frozen as the giant hand remained before her, palm open, waiting. What was it doing? Why wasn't it grabbing her? Why wasn't it eating her? Ziri tilted her head, confused. For the first time, she looked closer at the human's face. The eyes were huge, yes, but they were not glowing with hunger. They were wide with wonder, almost gentle. Still, fear chained her feet. She darted away, running as fast as her tiny legs could carry her. She disappeared into the forest, leaving behind drops of glowing blue light in her trail. The human gasped again, then followed. Ziri ran, weaving through roots and rocks, her heart racing. But the human's steps followed, steady and strong. The ground trembled under the chase. She squeezed into a crack between two stones, her body pressed tight. She dared not move. The human stopped above, searching. For a long moment, they stared at each other, the giant peering down, the alien hiding below. Then slowly the human reached into the basket. It pulled out a berry and placed it on the ground. not near the stones, but a little distance away. Ziri blinked. The human waited. Then, without a word, it stood up, picked up the basket, and walked away. The forest grew quiet again. Ziri crept out of the crack, eyes on the berry. Her stomach growled. The fruit was huge, sweet-smelling, but her mind was louder than her hunger. Why did the human leave food instead of taking me? Why did it not attack? She sat in the grass, trembling, staring at the gift. For the first time, doubt crept into her fear. Maybe the monsters were not exactly what she had been told. Escape and curiosity. The sun rose higher, painting the forest with gold. The wind carried the smell of leaves and earth. Ziri sat near the giant berry the human had left behind. Her small hands touched it, but she did not eat. Her heart was torn. She had seen the giant's face, not angry, not hungry, not like the monster her people always spoke of. Instead, the giant's eyes were gentle, curious, almost kind, but fear was a heavy chain. She whispered to herself, "It is a trick. They want me to trust. Then they will devour me." Her stomach growled, louder. Finally, she broke off a piece of the berry and ate. The sweetness filled her mouth. The taste gave her strength, but her thoughts only grew more confused. Hours passed. Ziri stayed hidden among the trees, but her eyes followed the human from a distance. She climbed rocks, slipped into hollow logs, and used her glowing skin to see in the shadows. The young human was not hunting her. It was only walking through the forest, humming softly, gathering fruit in its basket. Ziri tilted her head. She whispered, "Why? Why no chase? Why no claws? Why no teeth?" She expected the human to roar or smash things, but it did none of that. Instead, it laughed at a bird that flew close. It touched flowers with gentle fingers. When it saw a wounded rabbit, it placed food beside it and walked away. Ziri's eyes widened. This made no sense. Monsters did not give. Monsters did not heal. Monsters only took. And yet, this human was different. Still, she stayed careful. Her glowing eyes peeked from the shadows. Every step of the giant shook the ground, and every sound from its mouth rumbled like thunder. As evening came, Ziri followed the human to the edge of the forest. What she saw next froze her heart. There was not one giant. There were many, dozens, of humans gathered near a small village. Smoke rose from wooden houses. Children laughed and ran, their voices loud like drums. Adults carried baskets, cooked food, and spoke to each other in booming voices. To Ziri, it looked like a gathering of monsters. Their size, their power, their noise. It was overwhelming. Her small body shivered. She hid under a root, peeking, with wide eyes. The young human she had seen joined the others, smiling, showing the berries in its basket. The taller humans laughed and patted its head. Ziri's heart raced. So many giants together. How could she survive here? If they found her, they would surely crush her, but she could not look away. Curiosity held her like chains. She saw something strange. The humans shared food. They broke bread and gave pieces to each other. They gave the best parts to the young and the weak. Ziri frowned. This was not the way of monsters. Monsters fought for food. Monsters took everything for themselves, but these humans, they shared. Her fear battled with her thoughts. Night came. Fires burned in the village. The humans sat together, laughing, talking, singing in voices that echoed across the forest. Ziri sat far away, on a branch, watching. Her heart still beat, fast. But her mind was full of questions. Why do they act like this? Why do they laugh? Why do they give? Why do they not devour each other? The stories of her people echoed in her head. Humans are destroyers. Humans are cruel. Humans will crush you and eat you alive, and yet, the truth she saw before her eyes was not the same. Suddenly, danger struck. A wild beast crept into the village. A huge wolf with glowing eyes. It snarled, its teeth sharp as blades. Ziri's small body shook with terror. This, she thought, was the real monster. The humans shouted. The children screamed. The wolf lunged at the young human who had left her the berry. Ziri gasped. She expected the other humans to run, but instead, they stood in front of the child, holding sticks and fire. They shouted, beating the ground, chasing the beast away. The wolf growled, then fled into the night. The humans cheered, hugging the young one. Ziri sat in silence, her glowing eyes wide. They had not eaten their child. They had not sacrificed the weak. They had protected. They had fought together. Her fear cracked, just a little. When the humans went to sleep, Ziri crept closer to the village. She hid near the fire's edge, watching the faces of the sleeping giants. Her mind whispered, Maybe the stories were wrong. Maybe they are not monsters. Or maybe they are something else. Her tiny heart beat fast. Fear and curiosity mixed inside her like fire and water. For the first time, she wanted to know the truth. A dangerous mistake. The night was quiet after the wolf attack. The humans had gone back to their houses, their fires still glowing. The village looked peaceful, but to Ziri, it was full of danger. Dozens of giants slept inside. One wrong move, and she could be caught. Yet, something pulled her closer. She had watched the humans share food, laugh, and fight off the beast together. They were strong, but also kind to one another. Still, her fear whispered, They are monsters. If they find you, they will devour you. Her glowing eyes blinked in the dark. She told herself she only wanted to look, to learn. But deep inside, another truth pressed on her, hunger. The berry the young human had left her was almost gone. Her tiny body ached for more, and she could smell it, the sweet scent of bread and roasted meat drifting from the houses. Her stomach growled. Against her own warning, she stepped out of hiding and crept toward the village. Ziri moved like a shadow. She slipped between wooden fences, crawled under baskets, and darted across the dirt road. Every sound made her freeze. The crack of firewood, the snore of a sleeping human, the rustle of leaves. Finally, she reached a house. The door was slightly open. Warm light spilled out, and with it the smell of food. Her small heart pounded. Just a little, she whispered. Just enough to survive. She climbed up a barrel and slipped inside. The room was huge to her eyes. Wooden walls stretched, high like cliffs. A table stood tall in the center, covered with plates of food. To a human, it was an ordinary meal. To Ziri, it was a mountain of treasure. She stared at the bread, golden, round, soft, bigger than her whole body. The smell made her dizzy. She tore off a piece no larger than her finger. To her, it was a feast. She stuffed it into her mouth, her glowing skin flickering with joy. But in her hunger, she did not hear the sound. Crack! A door opened. Ziri froze, crumbs falling from her mouth. A shadow moved on the wall. Heavy footsteps shook the floor. A human entered, not the young one she had seen in the forest. This one was taller, stronger, an adult. Ziri's blood turned to ice. She darted under the table, pressing herself against the wood. The human lit a small lamp. Its glow filled the room. The giant's eyes scanned the floor. Then, slowly, it bent down. Ziri's tiny body glowed faintly blue in the shadows. She tried to hide it, but her light betrayed her. The human gasped. Its face twisted with shock. Ziri ran. She sprinted across the floor, her glowing trail shining behind her. The human shouted, its thunder voice shaking the air. A huge hand slammed, down, missing her by inches. She rolled under the door crack and bolted into the night. Her tiny legs carried her fast, but the village roared alive. Dogs barked, humans shouted, torches lit the darkness. They had seen her. Ziri scrambled into the grass, breathing hard. The ground shook with heavy steps. Voices echoed all around. "Monster!" one human shouted. "Spirit!" cried another. "Catch it!" Ziri's fear exploded. "No, no, no," she cried, running blind through the night. At last she stumbled into the forest, her chest heaving. She collapsed under a root, her tiny hands gripping the earth. Tears welled in her glowing eyes. She whispered, "Why did I take it? Why did I go inside? Now they will hunt me." Her mistake had awakened the village. Now the humans knew something strange lived near them, but not all eyes were cruel. The young human, the one who had left her the berry, stood at the edge of the forest, torch in hand. Unlike the others, its face showed no anger, only wonder. It called out softly, its voice gentle among the shouts. "Little one, don't be afraid." Ziri heard the words but did not understand. Still, the tone carried something strange. Not rage, not hunger, something closer to care. She hid, trembling. She dared not show herself. Yet deep inside, her heart remembered the food left in the grass, the gentle hand, the soft eyes. Confusion burned stronger than hunger now. Were these humans truly monsters? Or had she made the biggest mistake of all, believing the stories without, knowing the truth? The night carried no answers, only fear, and a new, dangerous curiosity. Learning the truth. The forest was quiet again, but Ziri's heart was not. Her mistake in the village still burned inside her. She had stolen food. She had been seen. Now the humans would never stop searching. She sat in the hollow of a tree, hugging her tiny knees, her glowing skin dim with shame. "Fool," she whispered. "You will be caught. You will be devoured." But even as fear filled her, another memory pushed through. The voice of the young human. It had called to her not with anger but with something else. Something gentle. "Little one, don't be afraid." She did not know the meaning of the words, but she had felt the meaning in the tone. The next morning, Ziri crept back to the edge of the forest. Smoke curled from the village fires. The humans were busy, but no one seemed to be hunting her. Children laughed and ran through the dirt road. Adults carried wood and water. She blinked. This was not what monsters did. Monsters roared. Monsters fought. But here, life seemed peaceful. Her glowing eyes scanned the humans carefully. They gave food to children first. They helped one another lift heavy baskets. They greeted each other with smiles. Ziri tilted her head. Why do they care? Why do they share? Monsters do not share. Her curiosity pulled her closer. She climbed a tree and watched from the branches. The world below looked strange but full of patterns. Humans worked together like her own people once had. Then she saw the young one again. The same human who had offered her the berry. It was carrying a small bowl, walking toward the forest. Ziri's heart raced. Was this a trap? The human placed the bowl on the ground near the trees. Inside was bread, broken into small pieces. It sat down a short distance away and waited, eyes watching the forest. Ziri stayed hidden. She wanted the food, but fear locked her body. She waited. Minutes passed. The human did not move. At last her hunger won. Slowly, carefully, she crawled down from the tree. Her tiny legs shook. Her glowing body flickered like a candle. She crept to the bowl. The smell of bread filled her nose. She broke off a crumb and ate. Sweetness spread in her mouth. The human gasped softly but did not reach out. It only watched. Ziri looked up, trembling. Their eyes met, and for the first time, she did not see a monster. She saw curiosity. She saw wonder. She saw kindness. The young human spoke again, slow and soft. The rumbling voice no longer felt like thunder. Ziri tilted her head, listening. She could not understand the words, but she could feel the meaning. Gentleness, patience, peace. Her heart whispered, "They do not want to harm me." She touched the bread with both hands and bowed her head, the way her people showed thanks. The human smiled. A real smile. Bright, warm, not cruel at all. Something shifted inside Ziri. Her fear cracked, and a small seed of trust took root. The days that followed were strange. The young human returned often, leaving food in the same place. Bread, fruit, water in a small wooden cup. Ziri accepted the gifts. At first she stayed hidden, but slowly she dared to show herself. Each time, the human smiled. Each time, it spoke gently, teaching sounds. Bread, water, friend. Ziri repeated them in her small voice, broken and strange. Her glowing eyes brightened as she learned. For the first time on this world, she laughed. One evening she saw something that changed her heart forever. The young human fell while running. Its knee bled. Other humans rushed to help. They cleaned the wound, wrapped it with cloth, and comforted the child. Ziri's eyes widened. They protect their weak. They heal their wounded. They are not monsters. Her people's stories had been wrong, completely wrong. Humans were not destroyers. They were not devourers. They were something else, something greater. That night, Ziri climbed high into a tree and looked at the village lights glowing in the dark. Her small voice whispered into the wind. I was afraid. I thought they would devour me. But now I see the truth. They are not monsters. They are protectors. For the first time since her ship had fallen, she felt hope. But hope came with danger. Because if the rest of the humans discovered her, not all of them might be as kind as the young one. Her journey was far from over. And she was about to learn that truth too. A new bond. The days passed slowly, but something new began to grow between the tiny alien and the young human. Fear had once ruled Ziri's heart, but now every time she saw the gentle smile of the giant child, her fear grew weaker, replaced by something she had never expected: trust. Every morning the young human returned to the forest, always alone. Always carrying a small gift of food or water, always waiting, patient and calm, until Ziri dared to appear. At first, Ziri stayed far away, taking the food and running. But with each meeting, she came closer. Step by step, her courage grew, and then one morning, for the first time, she did not hide at all. The human sat on the grass, placing bread on the ground. Ziri walked out from the shadows, her glowing body shining in the sunlight. The human gasped, softly, eyes wide with wonder, but did not move. Ziri tilted her head. Slowly, she raised her small hand and pressed it against her chest, the gesture of greeting from her world. The human watched, then placed its own hand against its chest, copying her. Ziri blinked in surprise. Then, to her shock, she laughed. A tiny sound like a bell. The human laughed too, its thunder voice gentle, almost musical. For a moment they laughed together, two creatures from different worlds, sharing the same sound. From that day, things began to change. The human taught, her words, pointing to bread, bread, pointing to water, water, pointing to itself. Kai, Ziri repeated softly, her voice shaky but eager. Bread, water, Kai. The human clapped with joy. Ziri's glowing eyes brightened. She touched her chest and whispered, Ziri. Kai's eyes widened. Ziri. Hearing her own name spoken by a human sent warmth rushing through her small body. For the first time she felt seen. But their bond was not only made of words. One evening, Ziri was watching Kai near the river. Kai slipped on a rock and fell into the water. The current pulled the child down, coughing, gasping. Ziri's heart raced. Without thinking, she jumped in. Her small body glowed brighter underwater, and she darted like a spark. She grabbed Kai's sleeve with both hands, pulling, fighting the rushing current. Her strength was tiny compared to the river, but her light shone like a beacon. Kai saw it, calmed, and kicked toward the shore. Together they reached the bank. Kai collapsed on the grass, coughing, drenched. Ziri sat beside him, shaking, her chest heaving. The human looked at her with wide eyes. Then slowly he smiled. Ziri. Friend, he whispered. Ziri blinked. Her tiny hands trembled. Then she placed one hand on his wet arm and whispered back, "Friend." In that moment, the bond between them became unbreakable. From then on, Kai no longer only gave food. He brought little things to share. A flower, a shiny stone, a feather from a bird. He placed them before her like treasures. Ziri, too, began to give. She brought glowing crystals from her ship wreckage, tiny shards of her lost world. She offered, them with both hands, bowing her head. Kai's eyes sparkled with wonder. He tied one of the glowing crystals on a string and wore it around his neck. Ziri's heart swelled with pride, but their secret bond was fragile. Not all humans were like Kai. Ziri had seen the fear and anger in the eyes of the adults the night she stole food. She knew if they discovered her, they might not see a friend. They might see a monster. One night, Kai whispered words she did not fully understand, but she felt the meaning. "Stay hidden. They won't understand." Ziri nodded. Her glowing eyes softened. She knew he was right. Still, for the first time since she had crashed on this strange world, she did not feel alone. She was no longer just a frightened alien hiding in the shadows. She was Ziri. She was a friend, and Kai was no longer a monster in her eyes. He was a protector, a bridge between her world and his. But even as hope grew, danger waited beyond the trees, because bonds attract attention, and soon others would notice. The twist and resolution. The forest had grown quiet, but in Ziri's heart, new warmth had bloomed. She had found a friend in Kai, a bond strong enough to melt fear, a bond that made her believe this world was not filled with monsters after all. But peace is never safe for long. One evening, as the sun painted the sky red, Ziri and Kai sat near the edge of the forest. Kai was showing her how to whistle with a reed. Ziri tried, but only squeaks came out. They both laughed, the sound mixing with the wind. Suddenly, heavy footsteps thundered behind them. Ziri froze. From the trees, two adults appeared, humans taller and stronger than Kai. One carried a torch, the other a spear. Their eyes fell on Ziri. The world stopped. "There!" one of them shouted. "The glowing spirit!" Ziri's chest turned cold. She had been discovered. The adults stepped forward, faces twisted with fear and anger. To them, Ziri was no child, no friend, only a strange creature, an unknown danger. "Stay back," one man barked, raising his spear. Ziri's body trembled. Her glowing skin betrayed her. She could not hide. The stories of her people screamed inside her mind. Humans devour. Humans destroy. Kai leapt to his feet, spreading his arms wide. "No," he shouted. His voice was small compared to theirs, but strong with courage. "She's not a monster." The adults ignored him. "Move aside, Kai. That thing is dangerous." Ziri's tiny heart pounded. She wanted to run, but her legs felt heavy. She whispered to herself, "Please don't devour me. Please." The man with the spear stepped closer. His shadow swallowed her small form. But Kai did not move. He stood in front of her, arms spread, eyes fierce. "She saved me," he cried. "She's my friend." The adults faltered. Confusion flickered in their eyes. They had expected fear, not defense. Ziri's eyes filled with tears. This giant child, the one she had once thought a monster, was shielding her, protecting her with his small body against his own kind. The torchlight flickered across her glowing skin. Slowly she stepped out from behind Kai. Her tiny hands shook, but she lifted them, palms open, showing no harm. She bowed her head, the way her people showed peace. The adults stared. Their anger wavered. This was not a beast roaring at them. This was a creature showing humility, respect. "She's alive," one whispered. "She's no spirit," said the other. "She's something else." The spear lowered. Ziri took a step forward. Her voice was small, broken but clear. "Ziri, friend." Kai's eyes lit with pride. He repeated louder, pointing at her. "Ziri, friend." The adults exchanged uneasy looks. Their fear had not vanished, but their rage had cracked. At last, they turned back toward the village. "We will tell the others," one muttered. "They must decide." Ziri's body stiffened. She knew what that meant. If the whole village learned about her, not all would show mercy. Some would still see her as a threat. Her glowing eyes turned to Kai, filled with worry. Kai knelt, lowering himself to her level. His voice was soft but firm. "Don't be afraid. I will protect you." That night, Ziri did not sleep. She sat, high in the trees, watching the village fires. Her thoughts swirled like a storm. The humans were not monsters. She had learned that truth with her own eyes. They shared, they protected, they loved. But humans also feared. Fear made them dangerous. Fear could turn kindness into cruelty. And so she faced the hardest truth of all. She could never live openly among them. Yet she was not alone anymore. She had Kai. At dawn, she returned to the clearing where they had first met. Kai was waiting, holding the glowing crystal she had given him. She touched his hand with her tiny one. Her glowing light spread across his skin. "Friend," she whispered again. Kai smiled, eyes bright. "Friend." They stood together in the quiet forest, giant and tiny, human and alien, two souls bound by trust. And deep in her heart, Ziri knew. The monsters she had feared were not real. The real monsters were fear and lies. The truth was brighter. The truth was stronger. The truth was this: the humans she had once feared had become her saviors.